Hello friends, welcome to the third episode of Gupshup with Garima, where we have a conversation with riveting people so that they may tickle us and inspire us. And as always, it is my promise to make this chat as candid as possible so that you can see the person behind all of their labels. And today, it gives me great honor to introduce to you Nancy Katyal.
Hi Garima, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Nancy. I can't tell you just how stoked I am to be having this conversation with you because I think you just fit the profile of the kind of person that I want to hear from during these dull times of coronavirus.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
And as always, I want you, Nancy, to actually give us your one-line introduction.
Interesting. So what I would say is that I just help people to love themselves a little more, and they pay me for that.
Okay, now comes the fun part. I want you to pretend that I'm a 5-year-old. But auntie, I know what a doctor does or an engineer does. आप करते क्या हो?
मैं क्या करती हूँ? अच्छा देखो, कई बार क्या होता है कि हमारा कॉन्फिडेंस लो होता है और कई बार some people say certain things to us and we wonder, is it the reality for me, or am I shining my light, or somebody is dimming my light? So I just help people to shine their light, to unleash their potential and just become the best version. Like you have a hero inside you and you want it to come out, I just help you to let that hero come out. And hero is he, she, like it's a neutral thing.
That is amazing. I get it now. You're going to help me recognize whether I am Elastigirl or Batwoman and then show it, right?
Wow. I would say I would make the world meet Garima, the Garima. Not the Batman, not the She-Man, not the He-Man, but Garima. Yes.
And there can be blocks to that. That's incredible. Yes, I hear you. So, just right off the bat, I want to know what is the most defining moment of your life?
As I'm thinking about it, there's so many positive things that immediately would come to your mind and you have this thing to share it immediately. But what I would say is that for me, when I look at and in this moment reflect, what is a defining moment is certain things in life or experiences that have shaped me for who I have become. And in this moment, I feel like sharing with you one incident where it did cause me a little hurt. Now, when I look back, of course, I smile and I'm thankful for all those people who gave me that experience. It happened 2 years back, 2018. I happened to meet, let's call them this person, okay? So I met this person and I had this red flag and I thought that something is not working, we are not like-minded. But then I thought, no, you're being judgmental. You have to be compassionate, Nancy. No. Just be kind and nice. And I think within 3 months, I figured out that person was alcoholic and this person had some behaviors that were not in alignment with who I am. And also I realized that, when something is not in alignment with yourself, one question, and that was a defining moment for me, that I asked myself that what is it about this person that I don't like? And I realized that they were crossing my boundaries, and that was also telling me that I am not having those boundaries. So it was not about them, it was about me. And I think to call off a friendship of so many years, and I think so many people told me, no, it's like the sunk cost fallacy. You've spent so much of time. There will be one moment when this person will have a breakthrough. And I was waiting for that breakthrough and it was not happening. And I asked myself, that is it life affirming for you, Nancy? No, who are you answerable to? Your own self. And I think I called it quits, and I pray the best for that person. However, I'm extremely grateful that it happened to me because it helped me to understand that not everything in life is life affirming, and one should not be very harsh on ourselves for taking that decision. And I think I do whenever I'm making a choice. It helped me to understand that I have to make life affirming choices, and that has stayed with me. And I'm real mindful of doing that whenever I can in this very moment.
I think you're the only person who's ever said to me that they make choices in their life based on this question that they ask themselves. Is this life affirming for me? In simpler terms, what might that question be actually in common language?
So anything, does it help me feel the best version of myself, or I question my self-worth? Anything which makes you question your self-worth, because I feel that we are complete as we are, and any engagement that helps you question your self-worth, that you are not enough and you're not worthy of this, we really need to question ourselves, that am I doing it to myself, or this the external factor making me feel that? And for me, life affirming is not life fulfilling. It doesn't make you feel good about your own self. And anything that I take up, I ask myself that after this conversation, would I feel alive? And if yes, then I say yes. And there are things in my life which I've said no to, and I'm happy that I did say that, because that was the best thing that could happen to me that time.
Okay. So the takeaway is, ask yourself if at the end of this you're going to feel more alive and will still be able to respect yourself as much. Is that a good...
Beautiful, yes.
Okay. All right, Nancy, you have walked yourself right into the rapid fire round.
Just clear myself up.
And once again, there is no hamper at the end of this. It is...
Will I get love hamper?
Satisfaction.
Wow. I know I'll get your love hamper.
Yes. No courier charges.
Yeah. Received.
So here we go. Business formals or casual?
Business formal.
English films or Hindi?
Bollywood buff.
Woohoo! So then, Akshay Kumar or Shah Rukh Khan?
Shah Rukh Khan.
Don't tell me. What about him? You have to explain this one.
So I was not a big Shah Rukh Khan fan. I'm not like using the word fan, but I met him. I was fortunate enough to meet him during one event, and the way he was charismatic, and I was lucky enough. He just came in front of me like parallel, and instead of saying that, can you give me a hug? You know what I said to him? I said, can I give you a hug? And he said, as if I am the Nancy Katyal. So I said, can I give you a hug? He said, of course, sweetheart. Yeah. And then I forgot that for 40 seconds, and everybody, was like, excuse me, you have to leave him. And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, I think the way he makes other people feel, for me, of course, his work is great, Swades, Kal Ho Na Ho, DDLJ and stuff like that. But for me, it's more about the person that I met that day.
You have changed my perspective about Shah Rukh Khan. That just sounds like a presence to aspire for, though, to make people feel that way in your presence. Next question. Your motto in life. Quick.
Live and let live.
Panga nahi lena.
Yeah. And I think more than that, of course, it was present to me in the moments I said, I think just spread love.
Okay, then turning it on its head, your oops moment as a mom.
Oops moment as a mom? So many. Pronunciation. I remember Ishita has this pet peeve, my daughter. I don't know. I think I said patriarchy, and she said, Mom, it's patriarchy. And I said, yeah, of course. And it happened in front of few people. I won't call it oops moment. It's like, yeah. And so many, yeah.
Okay, and the last one. Something or someone you can't stand.
Can't stand?
Yes, can't stand.
Okay, Rakhi Sawant.
My God, I would give you a gold hamper for this candid answer.
Yeah.
So, friends, this is the Nancy Katyal. Under the hood, I hope you got a glimpse of her. She's a vivacious and stunning person, and that I'm so lucky to know. She's the CEO of ThePerfectYou with thousands of hours of coaching under her belt. She's equally comfortable being on stage and rubbing shoulders with the top CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and sharing her thoughts with the thought leaders of the world. But one thing that I tell you makes Nancy extra special is that she's equally at home, laughing out loud over a cup of coffee in the cafe next door with you. So, tipping my hat to you, Nancy, and thank you once again for being here and talking to us.
Wow, thank you so much, Garima. I mean, I would just want to send a big warm hug to you because you know how much I love you for the person that you are.
Yes, we have a mutual fan club, nothing to do with the conversation though. So, one thing that I find really intriguing about Nancy is that she has a way of seeing right through the person, and when she does, she isn't shy to call it out. So, it's thrilling to be in one of her workshops if you get an opportunity. I was blessed to be in one of them as well. The next question for you, therefore, Nancy, is tell us about one of your more memorable corporate events.
Actually, my work is very rewarding, Garima, and that's because, every time, even if there are 30 people, if one person comes up to you and says that thank you, nothing more, just that thank you is very fulfilling. And I remember I was doing this corporate event where there were 200 odd women, and we were doing it on self-esteem and unleashing the hero within. And so I asked in one of the activities to recall an incident where they felt unworthy and felt that they had low self-esteem, and they were just recalling the incident. And after reflection, I asked them that what if we can just reframe it, and what if you were your own best friend and you had to write a letter to your own self, and in a very caring and nurturing manner for the same incident, what would you say to yourself? And after that activity was over, and while it was going on, I could see eyes welled up. Some people were just looking at me with that warmth in their eyes. And I remember, and this is before Corona times, and one of the ladies stood up and she said, would you mind if I offer you a hug? And I said, no. And I still, it gives me goosebumps, and I'm feeling emotional when I say this, because when she gave me a hug, I could sense her heartbeat. I could sense that there was a breakthrough. And I think that's a very memorable moment for me.
Incredible. It's, I think, a blessing of the line of work that we are in to be with people when they are experiencing these inner transformations. Of course, the person does all the work, but we get to hold the space for them, and extremely rewarding. Yes, I agree with you. I tend to say that too, that I'm actually on a journey of personal development. I just happen to get paid for it by the person who thinks that I'm helping them too.
Beautiful, yes.
So, tell us about your, I know that you've been in Forbes Magazine, and you were on the panel of a lot of very powerful think tanks. So tell me about one of your most cherished achievements, if I may say, or a cherished milestone.
I know it may sound like a cliche. More than events, I think every interaction that I have with Ishita or my mom and my dad, or even with my husband, or anybody. In fact, in this very moment, this is very cherishing for me, because Garima, what I have realized of late is that I'm unable to recall many things, and that's not because I don't want to, but because I have recently become a moment-to-moment being. Right now, I'm just enjoying this, so I can't recall one of them. But I would say that all those moments where I was just living in the moment fully without worrying about anything, I think that has been the most cherished moments.
Wow. Somehow that made me wonder that you named your company ThePerfectYou. Aren't you afraid that somewhere it uses that word perfection, which kind of really holds people back?
Beautiful. Thank you for asking. I'm so glad that you asked me. So everybody, if you ask them, okay, they would say, this is not perfect. I just want to make it perfect. However, my perspective is different. I feel that we are perfect in our imperfections, and we all have certain imperfections. So whatever we are striving for, we are already perfect. So I look at it from the other way. You don't have to strive. You just need to look within. It's already there, and we are perfect. We are running for something which is already there. I see it that way. That's why the perfect you.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be one of my cherished moments too. Just hearing it from the Nancy Katyal that I'm perfect with all of my imperfections, my over shiny nose and over reflective glasses and hair that are all over the place and all the sniffles. But this is how I'm showing up right now, and that's good enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well said.
So then, would you share with us some of your guru mantras as an executive presence coach so that we can save thousands and thousands of rupees?
Yeah. And as they say that, there's always more to it. I would love to share some of them. I think one of them, and which may again sound like a buzzword, is authenticity, and which is again misunderstood and overplayed. How I see authenticity is that anytime you are making any or saying anything, see if it is coming from expressing where you're thinking, feeling, doing, and acting, and all these are in alignment. Because sometimes I'm thinking something but feeling something else, and
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm telling my child, it's okay, you did badly in your exams. And I'm like, can't you just study harder?
Absolutely. And I think, what if I can tell my kid that, you know what, in my mind, I feel like to say it's okay, but in my heart, I'm feeling like you could have done better. And the beauty in that is that your kid would see you for the human that you are. And while perfection is something that is portrayed in social media all the time, but it is authenticity that we all are craving for. We want to see an authentic person. We want to hear authentic conversation. We want to see people acting authentically. And I think one thing, as easy as it may sound, but that's the biggest chunk of executive presence, that if you can be brave and audacious enough to say that this is who I am, can you accept me? And I think organizations are also looking at thought leaders who are okay to say things in a meeting where they feel that this idea is a group dynamics, and I want to break it because it will help the organization. So many meetings I have seen that people will stay quiet because they feel that no, 10 people have agreed, but their idea actually can change the dynamics. So I think if that's two. So first is authenticity, second is building your thought leadership, and third is really thinking that anything that I'm doing, is it only about me or we? That is, am I making contribution through my work by making a difference to others? Like if you see, many people confuse personal branding with executive presence. Personal branding is just a subset of executive presence. Personal branding is a lot about I do this, I wear this, I say this, I represent this.
At this time, I feel like asking, so how am I looking? You look amazing, but did I manage to pull off the look that I was going for? Is it
absolutely
casual but chic? Was what I was going for.
So I would in fact ask you that, are you comfortable in what you are wearing? And I think that you are very comfortable and easy peasy. So of course. And like I said, personal branding is a subset of executive presence, which is about I. Executive presence about we. I bring this to the table, but as a result of what I bring, what are we getting out of that? And if we can bring that, trust me, you will be admired by so many people.
Those are some really, truly actionable takeaways. I love how you're talking about moving from the I space to the next level as you go higher, and you are influencing so many more lives when you can say that I have to see how when I show up in my authentic self, does that contribute to the well-being of the we? So, yeah. And, with authenticity, there are so many questions like, we've been trained by our mothers and grandmothers, like for the sake of harmony in the family, just hush, Do you have to express everything in this very moment? So sometimes do you feel like a clash between what you hear your grandmom's voice and what you are now uncovering? Or
wow, I love this question. And dealing with difficult conversation is also one of the subset of executive presence. And I'm glad that you brought it. Now, when we are having a difficult conversation, one of the questions that we need to ask is, after having this conversation, would my relationship improve or worsen? Now, immediate instinct could be that the other person is not prepared. And I think it's not majorly about the other person, it's about us. And some conversations actually are not worth having if you are already tried one. So we need to have that balance to ask that, okay, the example that you gave, I would say that is there a better way to have that conversation? For example, rather than saying that I'm feeling sad, what if, or you made me feel sad, what if I own up and I say that, while your thought is interesting, however, I see it differently. Now, I'm still bringing my perspective, but I'm not making it about the other person. I'm still making it about the difference the conversation can take if I take the ownership of how I am feeling rather than saying to the other person how you are doing. So I think that's also where authenticity comes in. And I think compassion is also another subset. There's so many subsets of executive presence. And I think showing grace under crisis is one of the biggest thing that we talk about in executive presence, that it's very easy for me to tell when crises are going on to say that, don't you understand the organization is going through this? Why don't you understand? We're all going through this trouble. What if I tell people that, listen, I am also struggling as a leader. Is there anything that you can contribute? And I think that's where your vulnerability and authenticity comes in, that even if in a conversation you don't have the answer, can you ask the other person that, yes, I have this struggle. Now let's see what we can do about this. Yes, I have a problem in this conversation and I want a solution. And I think that's where the conversation goes from I again to the we.
Yes, I think this pearl that I'm picking up from this that you've shared is the owning up that I am co-creating, if in a domestic setting, for example, I'm co-creating this feeling that, you made me angry is not really very effective. You did ABC, I felt angry. I think that's the hint here.
Absolutely. Bang on.
And in an executive business setting, definitely being able to say that I don't have the answer, I am not God and I'm not Rajnikant either, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely. And if you look at all the leaders whom we look up to, and I think leadership, again, is the misunderstood word. We are all leaders irrespective of the title. Whether you're a CEO, whether you're an AVP, or whether you're a VP, or even you're a housemaker or a homemaker, you are a leader. So as a leader, if you look at CEO of Starbucks, when he was facing problem in his organization, many people told him that, no, you would look low in and your shadow or your light would dim if you say that, oh, I don't have an answer. But he said, I cannot lie to my stakeholders. And that was the beauty, that he showed up in his full form and he said, listen, I am facing a problem. I don't have the answer. And they were looking at a particular location where they were facing a problem. And after that, when everybody collectively came with the solution, they had the highest ROI in that particular location. So I believe that, even in training or facilitation or as a coach, it's okay to tell the other person, I wish I had an answer right now.
Yeah, that's sort of like crowdsourcing your inputs or even ideas, solutions. But I think one place we can't really crowdsource is parenting. But could you tell me some of your favorite parenting or mommyhood moments? Because I know I ask you your oops and it's only fair I give you a chance to gloat.
Wow. So many, actually, so many. I learned so much from Ishita. And I remember in one of the conversation, I was attending an event with her, and as a mother, so as a role, you tend to say, Acha, nahi, I will not get into the role. I will talk human to human with her. And I think that's what I have learned from Ishita. She said that, Mom, the day you will stop looking at yourself as a role that you have to perform, like, for example, I call it PRR, parent roles and responsibilities. She said that So she used the word role. She said, Mom, if you talk to me from human to human level, individual to individual level, like how you would give suggestion to your friend without thinking that it should be accepted. So if you talk to me like that without thinking that you are responsible for every decision in my life, you would see that it'll ease out the relationship. And that was like a, oh my God, kind of a moment for me. And of course, there are moments where I'm not able to implement it every day. However, majority of the time, this has stayed with me, and I see that it has brought the dynamics of the relationship in a different way, and I'm happy that she said that to me.
So, for the benefit of our readers, Nancy is the mom to Ishita Katyal, who has the recognition of being the youngest TEDx speaker. And to tell you the truth, I had heard of Ishita before I knew Nancy. And so, my next question definitely for her is, what are some of your lessons, Nancy, from raising an overachiever who is in public presence, has possibly more social media followers than you do? I don't know.
Absolutely. So many times people have called me Ishita,
Oops. That is an oops moment for them.
Yeah. And because the kind of insights that she shares, people, again, the stereotype or the perception filters that somebody who's senior is coming to talk, because people at registration would not know who's Ishita, right? So she accompanies me. In fact, I am accompanying her, right? So they have given the tags sometimes to me, and I say, no, she's the speaker and I am accompanying her. So yeah, I mean, some of the lessons or some of the most cherished moments with Ishita have been where she leaves that inner child in her alive, in the sense that if she feels funny, I remember in one of the event where Prime Minister of Bhutan was there, and I was like, Prime Minister of Bhutan, Ishita, she went there, and she said it was an event and there was a standees, sort of, I don't know, Photoshop stop and stuff like that, and she said photo booth. So she said she was not aware who he was, and she said, sir, can we go there and click photos? And I'm going like, oh my God, he's Prime Minister of Bhutan. And she's like, no, let's make 2-3 poses, because they'll end up making a video. So, we have to do 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, so, that thing, that talking to an individual, she doesn't look at them as somebody who's famous. She just looks at them as an individual. And for me, that was like, wow, I really need to learn that. And then somebody told her that, he's Prime Minister of Bhutan. She said, that's amazing and that's fantastic.
What a great anecdote to share, Nancy.
So many of them, actually. I mean, one quick one that I also want to share is that I remember her friends used to come home, and as a proud parent, I would say, tell them about that, She said, Mom, they know me as Ishita, her friend, right? So why we have to bring all the dynamics about what I'm doing? When they come home, they want to play with Ishita. They don't want to play with Ishita, the speaker. So we don't have to bring all that. So, for us, actually, it's for the outside world that Ishita is an overachiever. For us, we have our fights, we have our disagreements, we have our discussions. So she, in fact, has told us to treat her not like a special kid. So we actually, you've asked me, so I'm thinking, yeah, she is an overachiever. So for us, it's like Ishita, our daughter. I mean, we actually don't think like that.
That is true. And I also know from knowing you that you never take credit for raising a child who is so comfortable in her skin and equally easy, being with her friends and being with prime ministers. So I will not force you to, because I know you'll say, no, I had nothing to do with it. Otherwise, I want to say, what did you eat when you were pregnant? And what did you do when you were breastfeeding her? And what?
I know.
But all of us moms think and feel that our children are, they have a lot of potential. So just maybe a tip or two for, how to give them space enough, or, what you think works, what you found works.
I was talking to somebody else yesterday, and I was telling her that, in parenting, one of the things that we should be aware of is to be a conscious co-traveler as a parent and not a controlling co-traveler. And by that, what I mean is that it's natural for us to say that our self-worth is dependent on what they achieve, but it's not that. And if I look at Ishita's journey, everything happened organically because we were not worried about getting a book published. It happened. We were not worried about making her go to TED Global stage and be the youngest TED speaker from India. It just happened because we were more conscious of letting her be. And I think rest of the things happened. We never paid for social media following. They're all organic. And I think that's something that I can tell parents, that don't control. Because would you like if your kid tells you, Mama, I don't want dinner at 8, I want it at 7:30, and 7:30 suppose you have something to do. And I think we feel again the PRR as a role I have to do. When you just let it be, parenting becomes easier. So that's one that I can share in this moment. And second thing I think is that please make your kids exposed to different worldviews. For example, if you believe in God, doesn't mean that your kid also needs to believe in, or supreme power, whatever. So if they ask you, you can tell them that, this is also something that people believe in, so that they build their own thoughts. And I am reminded of Khalil Gibran's poem that you can love them. You can don't give them your thoughts. They have their own thoughts, right? So that's something that we are every day striving for. There are slips here and there, and that's what makes us human.
Yeah, I'm sure you're totally comfortable in your skin, and even if you hear some, from your kids or other family members that you say this too much or that too much. But one parting one, I just can't help myself. Is there something that maybe your husband or your child will say, you say too often, too much?
I used to earlier, which is what I mean to say is not anymore though.
Yeah, I beg to differ and all of those, in
a conversation with my friends, I remember, sorry, I used to use the word yaar a lot.
Yeah, okay, but I give you total freedom because you're perfect just the way you are, and even if you call me yaar, I would take that as a massive compliment. So this, my friends, is Nancy Katyal, the executive coach and CEO of ThePerfectYou. So I would highly recommend you look it up and start following her page on Facebook, which is simply ThePerfectYou as one word. You could also follow her on Twitter with her name, Nancy Katyal. That's her handle. So if there is anything that you want to say as we close up, Nancy, this is your space.
Wow. Thank you so much, Garima, for having me. And one thing that I can tell people is that in life, if you don't ask, the answer is anyways no. So in any moment that you feel that you want to ask help, ask. If you want to ask compliment, don't worry, ask. If you want to ask any help, ask. So ask.
Wow, so can I use you and ask Shah Rukh Khan for a sit down for Gupshup with Garima?
Yeah, I can figure out because I don't have his contact number, but I would love to ask someone.
Yeah, I was just trying to show off that I've picked it up and I'm going to start using it. But thank you, Nancy, from the bottom of my heart for being your honest, authentic, genuine self over here and giving us permissions and space that sometimes we hold back from, so that we can just show up feeling that this is who I am. Love it or leave it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a beautiful conversation.
Absolutely. So dear friends, I'm going to see you again next Guruvar in Gupshup with Garima at 9 p.m. Till then, please keep implementing all these amazing suggestions by Nancy. See you. Bye-bye.